Hello, good day, and welcome to another tutorial video. Now, in this video, we will be looking at doing estimates for a two-floor dwelling. Now, the images on this cover page give you an indication as to what the design features are. One of the aim of the calculators, as mentioned before, is to allow for you to be able to give a quotation when a customer asks for a rough quotation. Instead of you using the rough square footage values, you are supposed to use some level of technicalities to ensure that you are guiding as well as you're advising. Now, this building is 4,096 square feet, and because it is two-floor, I cannot use the area that is being presented here. In this case, what I have to go to is something like the floor plans. So this is the area schedule, and it is saying that on the ground floor is 2,253, and on the first floor is 1,843 square feet. In a typical estimate sense, if a person was given a rough projection and they were using a rate of, say, 15,000 per square feet to combine material and labor, then it would be saying that this dwelling would cost about $61.4 million. Now, what we can do is we can do a cross-check with the calculator and see what the difference of cost is, as well as we can look at the rate per floor to confirm whether or not it is practical to use one rate at all times. Going into the calculator, as usual, we are using the building calculator, and we are going to have to add the data here. Now, to make this process easier for myself, what I'll do is that I'll duplicate the window so I can represent the ground floor in one section, and then I can represent the first floor in the other. Now, most of these details you would be familiar with based on the previous tutorial, so I'm just going to add some data and then show what the results are. Now, using these conditions as seen here to represent the ground floor, which is 2,253.4 square feet, we can arrive at a total. So if I was to go into this setup and I was to look at the cost, this would be saying that the ground floor should cost $45.152 million. Now, after considering this data, we can look at the data for the upper floor, which is 1,843.03 square feet. Now, for that level, these are the conditions that we are using. And one of the biggest changes in this floor versus the other floor is the fact that most provisions for the site would have been put in from the ground floor, so I can put them in again for the upper floor, as well as there are certain work that was done in terms of the site prep downstairs, which are not going to be needed for the upper floor. So based on this data, I can generate a cost again, and it would be saying that the cost here should be 29.7 million. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add these two costs related to the two different floors and then see what it comes to. Now, adding these two costs as highlighted here, based on what I got in the calculator, what we are going to see is that the square footage value is not the same at the two intervals. And even if you were to consider the combined cost of the building and then put a square footage to it, then you would see that the cost per square feet would change. And this is one of the theories that I have continuously been presenting on, and that is the cost to do a building cannot ever have consistent square footage costs at different levels, because there are things that you're going to do at the lower level that you will not be doing at the upper level. So therefore, there has to be a variance. And if you were to combine the square footage, again, that's going to give you a different reading. So these three different rating systems are basically generated by looking at the final figure and the square footage. And as you can see, one is saying 20, one is saying 16, and one is saying 18, thereby confirming that it is a very bad approach to use a flat square footage rate. And that's one of the advantages of using these calculators, is that it can pick up where you are making these mistakes. Now, another thing to notice here is that the final figure for the building is saying 75.1, but using the random estimate is saying 61.4. And this is where many times contractors get themselves in a lot of trouble, where they present costs, they did not evaluate any technical circumstances, and then they end up dropping short, in this case over $13 million, and thereby can end up in a legal bind where they cannot fully establish what caused them to have a cost that is greater than their initial quote. But anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it for today. Always remember, Cost per square feet is never uniform, and that's why you need calculated data to present your info. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Hope to see you in the next one. Take care.